Hello, everyone, and welcome into the weekly EndGame Syndicate Battle Royale sim stream. This is where myself, Mattek, Brian Hooper, and NerdyTenor draft a bunch of teams in UnderDog Battle Royales. There is a twist, though. Dan's computer tells us what to do. He has built a complex simulation to tell us what the mathematically optimal picks are. Brian, we are solving daily fantasy football, and we're doing it easily this week on the EndGame Sim. How are we doing today, everyone?
Good. I mean, it's nice to have just solved everything. I don't have to worry anymore.
It's so easy.
Brian, your mic is on the wrong input.
Yeah.
Well, you got to turn it on, Davis.
Okay. All right. Well,
I was saying how easy it is.
Yeah.
You solved this very easily. Okay, Dan, explain what is new and cooking in your simulation stuff this week versus what we did last week.
So I'll run it down for people who might not have seen it. So the first thing I have is, I'll call it vanilla. It's just I have 3 projection sources in from as of a couple hours ago, and that's trying to compute basically equilibrium strat, like how you would play, assuming everybody else is pretty sharp, how you should play. So that's the vanilla. The second one is based on Brian's ADP-based projection. So Brian put a little tool together to generate projections based off of observed ADPs to sort of force the tool to behave more like what the ADPs are saying. So that's the ADP based. And then the interesting one is the third one, which is where the idea is to try and exploit the field tendencies a little more explicitly. So
that one seems exciting. That one seems like it's going to give us some interesting non-linear results, I think.
We'll see. I have an interesting intuition there. But the way we do that is we generate a bunch of lineups using the ADP-based thing that Brian put together, and that becomes the field. And then when we're drafting, we use this morning's projections against that field of lineups. So the idea is, assuming our projections disagree with where those ADPs are lying, we should get some movement in other directions. That's the idea.
Okay.
I think we should give a shot at all 3 of those.
Oh, sure.
Just give it an idea. I don't know which order I think we do the last one I mentioned last. I don't know about which of the first 2 you want to do first.
Well, whatever. It's the prizes are bigger this week. We have
True.
50K. We have 50K to first this week.
It's also $7 instead of $5.
So that's gonna, yeah. So when you tell me that $14 per EV per team is not going to be nearly as good as it was. Brian, did you get any BRs drafted last week?
I think I got like 1 in. I forgot they closed like 20-30 minutes early. So that's usually when I want to, do a couple BRs before a lock starts, and I'm sitting in my computer anyways. So I guess I got to draft earlier, huh?
Yeah.
Got to draft earlier. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and
should I do Brian's one or the vanilla one to start?
Let's do Brian's one, because that'll be familiar to what we've been doing. Like I said, I'm a little behind this week. So 94. So I've only done 66 battle royales. Oh, great. The location error is back.
I had that this morning.
It's just they're so committed to not allowing illegal gaming on their website. It's
well, they really do not want to get fined. I assume it's all
for
ass
sure
covering. But these location services things are notoriously fickle. Like, it's actually a non-trivial problem to locate someone reliably on the internet without forcing them to install some kind of plugin. Like, I had one. Sure. I had a really annoying one with DraftKings where it took me forever to figure out. They were constantly, I live in Colorado. They constantly would see me coming from New York, and I could not, for the life of me, figure out why. And then I switched browsers and it went away. And then I looked in the browser, I couldn't find any kind of redirects or any kind of proxy, anything. Like there was nothing there. It was all like default. I just could not. So it's a little bit of a dark art.
That's interesting because I have it where my default browser has been Brave, but basically no DFS site will let you in on Brave because it's a privacy browser. So I had to, when I started drafting on my desktop and I started streaming, I had to move away. Like I could even on DraftKings it would be fickle on Brave. All right, so we have the third pick.
We got the third, and we're using Brian's ADP inspired projection set here. The lamb goes
against the field of ADP projection too.
Yeah, this is just the EQ equilibrium-ish one. So Barkley went. So I did not put in the variance reduction this time, so it's just a full contest. So the suggestions, it's saying Derrick Henry or Bijan Robinson at this point.
Well, let's do. I actually am fine fading Derrick Henry, but on this one, let's just take Henry and see what it does. I'm curious if this comes up at all, where it at all is going to want Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson together, because the projections for those two players, I just got done doing the DFS show. The projections for those two players, very, very high. Lamar's projected for a lot of fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see what your stuff does with that correlation.
Yeah, so I do have correlation baked in, but it may not be very accurate. So it may underestimate the level of correlation. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I mean,
I definitely have it though. I could look up what it thinks it is, which is probably going to be, well, it's hard to say. I don't know. Hand wave. I'm waving hands. Hands are
so this is atypical. Bijan Robinson has been falling a little bit in these. So maybe now people are just getting woke to Bijan Robinson. I've had a couple teams finish in the top. I actually was in first place of BR for about 7 minutes last week. That felt pretty good. We circled around it last week. I just didn't. I've not double stacked like at all yet. And you needed a double stack last week. You had to have Higgins and Chase with Burrow. But I was over the field on Higgins. I was over the field on Likely. The thing was that matters. Likely should have been the sharpest pick of the week. 2 touchdowns out of an undrafted tight end, and then Tucker Kraft, 100% drafted, ruins it for everyone, which is not very fun, if you ask me. Not very just.
That's what we play fantasy for, the justice, right?
I think you should be rewarded for playing good and not non-rewarded. So.
All right, we're cucking on our pick here. It is listing Jaden Reed as the current winner.
All right, so the sim just wants chalk this week. That's all it cares about.
Well, if I let it cook, it'll change its mind, I'm sure. It always bops around. AJ Brown is appearing. What do we know? What's this situation with?
He's gonna play.
He's gonna play. So you're gonna take him. All right.
I took AJ Brown. That's like
it finished very close. Oh, actually, AJ Brown. I mean, there's so much volatility in these. He happened to finish on top at the very end.
So that's like my very early big stance this week is AJ Brown.
How's that a stance?
Well, you take him over other players who go ahead of him, so you can get like, Hurts, Saquon Goddard, the tight ends. I barely include the tight ends in the stacking stuff. Tight ends just don't score any points. The double wide receiver stacks just feels like that might be the only time it happens all year.
So I had a few shots on goal in one of the 2 or 3 gamers because I had a Falcons mega stack and I had like all of the points. I think I was in third or something, and I had like 2 running backs to go and did not win. I think I made like 50%.
Who does it want here?
Let's see. It's saying right now. It's saying Demont, Josh, Jake, a running back basically. They're all running pretty tight, so you can just pick which one you like.
I'll take Montgomery. That's interesting. So we're 3 picks now, just chalk.
This is not shocking, given that it's based off of ADP, this current projection set.
Which I'm of two minds. Like, do I like that? Do I not like that? Like, or maybe that is just illustrative. There's kind of been this undercurrent in the BR streets, Dan and Brian, that that people are actually now scrolling too much, and they're doing it inappropriately. They are doing the classic 2019 DFS thing of just giving up way too many points, of basically of getting too weird, basically.
I've definitely seen some stuff that I thought fell into that category, and in poker we have this term FPS, fancy play syndrome.
Oh yeah,
kind of reminds
play syndrome.
Same kind of dynamic, I would imagine. Where, yeah.
I wonder if you could. I'm thinking out loud here. If we could reverse engineer the ownership projections instead of ADP to get the faux field, or to get the ADP field.
I have an idea for how to do that, but it's a little involved.
Because if what the point is, okay, we can make the pick here and then.
Yeah. Now it says Mike Evans, and then it has some quarterbacks.
What quarterback?
It has Goff, Cousins, Murray, but it likes Mike Evans a lot.
All right, we'll do Mike Evans. I was hoping it was going to say Jalen Hurts, and then I realized that Jalen Hurts had been selected.
Jalen Hurts is gonzo. Yeah, I don't know why. That's a mistake. So if you run it longer, those quarterbacks should drop, because the next two guys have quarterbacks. There's no benefit in taking one now, which is why they were below Evans. Occasionally, I'll see it where it'll make that mistake, and it's because it hasn't cooked long enough to realize. Because it's like, oh, I picked this quarterback, and things happen to go super well anyway. So it can take a little time for it to learn not to do that. Okay, you're on to.
We just need a quarterback and a tight end now.
It's saying Baker.
Yeah. I don't love that, but I get it.
Also has some tight ends up there. Will Mallory, who's that?
Will Mallory is like the 9th tight end on the Indianapolis Colts.
He must have gotten first in one sim or something.
Well, maybe he's not being picked.
That could be too.
I would bet that if we do take Will Mallory on this sim, it will be the only time he's ever been selected in the history of Battle Royale.
They might offer him up again when it comes back around. We'll see. We'll see if that was a complete fluke or not.
I have a lot of respect for Dan's computer, but I'm not.
I don't.
I'm not taking Will Mallory.
But he must have been picked. Someone must have taken him. Otherwise
it wouldn't have appeared. That's correct.
Will Mallory in his NFL career. This will be a good bit. Well, more receptions than I thought. He does have 19 career receptions. I would have lost. You guys could. Someone could have talked me into a bar bet, and I would have slammed the under on 19.
Yeah, we have him at 0 projected too. So
nice.
Which, I mean, 0 projected owned.
There goes Dak. There goes Marvin Harrison. Okay. Oh, boy, he's fallen. All right, here comes tight ends. We've got Luke. How do you pronounce his last name?
Musgrave. He's out.
No. Schoonmaker.
Schoonmaker.
Yeah.
He's like a 3rd string tight end.
Okay, we got Cade Otton winning at the moment. And then Luke is up there with Cade. And then Will Mallory is in 3rd.
We're gonna take Cade Otton. Something screwy has to be in there for Schoonmaker and for Mallory to be showing up, because
let me see what it thinks the projection is there.
Well, I think it's because the ADP on those guys is higher than it should be.
Okay.
They must have been picked randomly by like Luke's mom or something playing BR.
It's definitely possible.
So you could just forget about some of those guys.
Well, you do see. I mean, you do see stuff like that, like Chris Brooks having an ADP, but like he's never been selected. You know, like I don't know. There's not a world in which Chris Brooks would have been selected, or there's. I mean,
Right,
for example. So there's something screwy going on there.
Okay.
It looks like there's a couple of those guys, but just ignore them.
We can just ignore them. Yeah.
Yeah, Luke's mom has been hammering Will Mallory in BRs. I assume it's something related to this. Is it because it considers ADP 35 to 36 and flat when it's actually
36. Not? 36 is flat because you can't go higher than 36.
Well, even 35 to 36 in the sim is going to show very flat, but the difference.
No.
So
there should be some variations in anyone under 36, but 36 even, they would technically all get the same projection in this. In the sim, but it's and that's the problem is because Luke's mom picked her kid once and then never played again, and then so he's got a projection now because his average is 36 because they don't average when you don't get picked. Which I kind of wish they would change.
I compute my ADPs a little differently. I weight them based on pick percent. So if somebody's not picked 100%, I think I basically plug in a 36 for the times they're not drafted. So it's 36 times percent not drafted plus actual ADP divided by,
How do you know how many times they're not drafted?
No, I mean in my stuff for my sims when I list my ADPs.
Got it.
That's what I interpret it.
So what does your highest ADP go to? Like do you have a guy who's like 75?
No. I don't do it that way anymore. So if a guy is only picked 25% of the time, the formula for his ADP is 0.25 times his average ADP when he's drafted plus 0.75 times 36. So it's just a weighted average. That's how I list it. Which really you need two numbers for this. You want ADP when drafted, and then you want draft percent.
That's what I was trying to get to before we had to make some picks there, is maybe we should redo this based on the ownership projections because they're more accurate. And if like the point is to try to do some exploitive play here, you'd much rather have that than just an ADP number because this is kind of a hybrid approach anyways, but because the point is like when you have the choice between two guys, but now you tell the computer that Will Mallory is only being picked this percentage of the time, it goes, oh, well, he's great at that percentage. Obviously not Will Mallory, but whoever, somebody after the top, like let's look at the tight end. So you got like McBride, Ferguson, Bowers, Laporta, and Kraft are getting drafted the vast majority, if not all the time.
Yeah.
So like the difference between Goddard is 37.7 and Likely's 13% projected, right?
Right.
But their ADP is only 1.3 difference.
Right. I think the approach that's probably best is what we actually talked about on the EndGame stream last night, which is you add costs and bonuses to players to get them to match the field that you want. So you put your projections in and you say, oh, I want to model the field with these ADPs. Oh, and my guy is coming in too late in my sim, so I give a 25-cent EV bonus to this guy every time he's drafted to push him up. Because then, so the thing Brian's done is very clever, but the weakness is that because it's based on projection, it does things to the distributions that are a little bit maybe counterintuitive. Like, I don't know. I have to think about it some more. It's tricky.
if we were to do the ADP more seriously, we'd have to add a lot of stuff to it, to get it to be where we actually want it. But I think we might. That was kind of just a hack to get us, where it is closer to something where Davis doesn't go, oh, I'm not taking him every pick, So
Sure,
that's
but
all I would do.
I do think that's an unsolvable problem. So you are always going to have that situation if you have a system that's smarter than the field. You will always be led to spots where it's like, always take this guy, always take this guy. It's always going to happen. And so you just have to, I think the solution there is just to decide what to do with that.
Here's the difference, though. I think is if you use an EQ strategy, it's still going to give you those picks Cardi thinks is good, or whatever you're using thinks is good.
Yeah.
But I think most people don't realize how infrequently these, like, after the sixth, top 4, 5, 6 players are getting drafted. And what we want to do is quantify that.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it really matter that Isaiah Likely's only getting picked 13% of the time as the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th ranked tight end this week?
Yeah. And I think
if you move that to 30%, does he now you don't want to take him? If you move him to 5%, you take him around earlier. That's what we're trying to quantify.
Right.
At least in my mind.
Yeah. I think hopefully we'll get some clues later.
That is an unsolvable problem.
When we get to the third iteration, we can see what the difference is between that and the second one.
You just find who Davis likes that week, bump him up in the Sims, and then he's gonna be, this is genius. This week, this is genius.
Yeah, look, if it wants me to start taking a ton of Tony Pollard, then I'm going to be like, all right, then we are in business. All right, let's run. Do
you want to continue with this one, or do we want to switch to vanilla?
Let's do one more. Let's do one more this way.
Another one of this.
Yeah, and then we can.
How does everyone, including chat, feel about the $7 instead of $5?
I love it, because imagine this is the week that Dan and I draft the nuts. 50K. I would say the thing that you are losing out on, Dan, I'm going to type in, I'm taking CD Lamb instead of Barkley. You can let it cook.
Yeah, we'll see how Brian's thing thinks. It's going to agree, it'll agree that that's the first receiver to take. Whether it thinks you should take receiver or running back first is another question.
So like that is my going to be my thing that's different. A couple things that'll be different from the field this week. I'm taking CD Lamb instead of Barkley. I am taking AJ Brown in this range a lot. Not with 100% frequency. I'm balancing my range. I'm pressing an RNG slightly favored with AJ Brown. It's a 4-sided die, but AJ Brown is 2 sides of the die. Is what I'm doing there. And
is that an imitation of Peter Overzet doing Peter Overzet doing you?
That is an imitation of me doing Pete as me, with Pete making fun of me making an overly nerdy point.
That's what I thought. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So CD Lamb is winning in the sim, by the way. It is winning.
The sim knows ball. And then I'm also taking Tony Pollard over Chuba Hubbard and James Conner, which will be another thing that is pretty different from the field, I think. Maybe not. Pollard is going to be your fake sharp play of the week, actually. Everyone who subscribes to run, I assume ETR has him very high in their projections.
I can take a brief tour of the projection sets here.
This is, BR is still so small that you can see the impacts of ETR publishing their rankings on drafts like immediately. So they publish their stuff on Wednesday night. People start drafting Wednesday night and Thursday morning. And when I go to bed on Wednesday night versus when I wake up on Thursday morning and do drafts, it is so clear how different, because it's not that many entries, 55,000 hand-built entries.
So ETR, between ETR, rotogrinders, and the Blitz right now, ETR has the highest Pollard projection.
Yeah, because they know ball. I mean, like they're very good. They're very good at their jobs.
Dan, I wonder if we could do a tiers suggestion piece. for a tool.
I
If
have
you
a
look at-
whole new way to do this entire process that I want to do. That's entirely based on tiers.
Okay.
I need more free time, but yeah, I know what I want to do.
If you look at the wide receivers this week in the ownership projections, there's basically 3 tiers, like kind of distinct tiers, because it gets down to Terry McLaurin, 92% projected as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th wide receiver. And what do we say? How many wide receivers probably get picked? About 2.3 per draft.
Maybe slightly more this week, actually.
Per team per draft, I should say.
The running backs are not as strong. The wide receivers are deeper this week. So maybe 2.4, maybe 2.35 this week or something.
Okay.
All right, we are up. Drake London and Jaden Reed go.
Okay, it's giving me AJ Brown.
All right, you can toss AJ Brown in there and then let it cook for our next pick. So it has 45 seconds to cook.
Sure. I'm gonna let homie cook.
I love that. All right, guys, I'm gonna try something new this week. I'm gonna have this is just for subscribers of the channel. I'm gonna have the DFS video come as a premiere after this, so maybe that'll help it with the looks. Maybe it won't, or with the views. Maybe it won't.
Josh Jacobs winning at the moment. Unsurprising since he's highest in ADP and you don't have a running back yet. So
Josh Jacobs.
Yep, because this is the ADP-based sim, so I don't find that surprising at all.
All right. Good with me.
I mean, it really showed. We'll find out in the next one, but how much projections drive everything.
How am I tracking my late swap options? So, like, basically, if I think there's a good week, like I'm waiting on information, I'll take 6th round Q guys. This week doesn't seem that exploitable to me with Q stuff, so I'm kind of trying to avoid it. But I don't track individual drafts. I do a more generalized approach because you can't swap per lineup. It's global swap only. Dylan, I'm drinking. These are unbelievably good. These are Bum Energy Blue Snow Cone. It tastes exactly like a blue snow cone. They're 5 calories, 100 grams of caffeine, or 100 milligrams of caffeine. They're very, very good.
Nutritionally complete, everything a body needs, right?
Yeah, it's got cognizin. You know what cognizin is, Dan?
No idea.
I assume it's a scam, but it's very delicious. 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh wow, yeah. I can only do so much caffeine. We do like 1/3 caffeinated blend in my house. Otherwise, I get really uncomfortable. Yeah.
I get too high strung if I drink too much caffeine.
Oh, I am a caffeine. It's really bad. Like I bet I'm probably at like 600 milligrams a day, which is a lot.
How do you ever sleep?
Because I stop at this will be my last bit of caffeine. All right,
we lost our Pollard opportunity. Somebody got him.
We did, yeah. See,
so now it's saying, okay, Stroud is popping right now.
This is a good one.
All right, I'll be disregarding unstacked CJ Stroud.
Okay, it's saying James Conner. It's saying Olave, Marvin Harrison.
Okay, Olave is.
No, it's saying.
I'm gonna Olave.
It's saying Conner at the moment. Did you grab Olave? Okay.
Yeah, so now it should want Conner.
Yeah, let's see. Well, no, it changes its mind a lot. Oh, what the heck? Okay. Okay, now it's saying Dak.
Yeah, Dak is the right pick.
Yeah.
I also didn't realize that I just wasn't thinking. I really did not mean to take 3 wide receivers, but I was so excited that it wanted to take Olave. Olave, basically, this is you guys aren't going to care about this at all, but this will be good for the people listening. The new quarterback this week for the Saints, Derek Carr, is out. the new quarterback for the Saints, basically did his introductory press conference yesterday and was like, they were like, "What's your plan? What are you going to do?" He's like, "I'm throwing it to Chris Olave. I'm going in the huddle. I'm figuring out where Chris Olave is going to be," which is not to say that you should jam him into all your lineups, but
So
if he kind of projects okay, that makes me want to be like, I should get over the field on
He
him.
did appear second on that last pick, by the way.
There you go.
I was like, what name is that? I was like, is Brian just messing with me right now? So I did not recognize that name. It's Spencer Rattler.
He went to my favorite university. He was the quarterback of the University of Oklahoma, who got benched for Brian's favorite quarterback, Caleb Williams, and then transferred.
Yes.
He was in a documentary called QB1. He was supposed to be the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2021 NFL draft, and now this is where he is.
All
right. Does it want us to take Jeremy Shockey here?
I'm just gonna plug in a random play for the guy behind you. It's popping with the guy somebody's mom drafted, and then after that it's got a bunch. It's got Mallory again, Disley, Pitts, Kraft. Kraft is winning at the moment.
The funniest thing I can imagine is a computer telling me Will Mallory is better than Kyle Pitts, and just saying like, "Well, I don't know how that might be true."
Tucker Kraft the most, but Pitts is in there. Yeah, and Pitts.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
all right.
When you draft based off ADP, you get pretty chalky picks, I guess.
Yeah.
Sense.
Okay. Let's switch it up now. What system do you?
All
want
right.
to
The
do
next one will just be the multi-sim with 3 different projections in it.
Okay.
As a couple hours ago. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say this seems like it'll probably be pretty fun.
Yeah. So one of the dynamics I found. Wait, let me start this bad boy. Okay, that's right.
So what are we drafting off of now?
I've got 3 different projection sets.
Okay.
We get the 101 again.
Oh wow! So while this is going, oh god, I crashed it. I got to restart it. Well, I've got time to restart it. That's a good thing.
You've got time to restart it, and you can know what pick you're gonna put in number 1.
All right.
CeeDee Lamb is projected for like a lot more points than Barkley, by the way. I ran through stuff this morning. He's projected like a full point better. So it's interesting to me that underdog drafters are saying we don't care. It's running back is very weak in week 6. Like it's pretty bad. It really falls off a cliff. Like even like Kamara, running back 5, you can see just like being ass. So I get it, but it is interesting.
Okay, Saquon is the current winner.
All right, you know what? I'll humor the Sims. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
People always say I overrule it. I will not be IK being Michael Leone, Derek Carty, and what the third is Justin is run the Sims.
No, I don't have that in yet for a random reason. I have RG default and then Cardi and then ETR at the moment. Those are the 3 I have.
ETR, RG, Blitz, projections, Battle Royale draft. Yeah. I've been keeping timestamps.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm keeping. Well, the timestamps really help videos on secondary. So like people who are not watching live, but they get home from work at 5 o'clock and they want to relax and watch some NerdyTenor ASMR on the keyboard. Yeah, I don't think Kamara's practiced on Wednesday yet this year. I'm pretty sure if you're keeping track at home, I'm fairly certain Kamara has not practiced on Wednesday yet this season.
So that's like no information, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My mid, low, high IQ take is that with lower scoring games across the league, the QBs have become much better scrolls given there's been less games to attack. Yeah, that's mid IQ, I think, because the quarterbacks who score a lot of points are the quarterbacks who generate value themselves without having to bring their pass catchers along. So Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, guys who, like, I don't know, if you could break it down by just running projected points, those guys probably add 5 to 7 points just rushing, meaning that in a lower scoring environment, those points are more valuable. Like they're gonna be even better. So I think now scrolling for Fields or Anthony Richardson, you could convince me that's a high IQ take. I have not heard from Liam. I think he's okay though. I should text him. All right, we are up, Dan.
All right,
we're up. Taylor Thomas, is he's hurt too?
Yes. Yeah, he has a bum ankle, Brian.
Okay, it's listing James Conner, McBride, Evans, Fields as the top 4.
Okay, now we're getting fucking weird. Now we're getting what the people want.
Connor Hurts is listed second now. Connor Hurts, Connor Mont, McBride. What did you do?
I took McBride. Okay, I just put him in the queue.
Yeah. So I noticed my software in general is a little bit more apt to take elite tight ends earlier than a lot of the field, which I think is kind of interesting. Doesn't mean it's good. It's listing Diggs, Pollard. It's letting some running backs, and then Diggs. I want a running back here more than anything, I think.
All right, I took Pollard.
Okay.
Now we are getting in the essence of this show, which is the computer telling us to take guys 20 spots ahead of ADP. And actually that one, that I'm totally fine with that. That is like a cool start to a team. And now if it tells us to do something insane and scroll, I'm cool with that too.
So one of the things I look at is like, how often do I close out a position? Like, so you closed out basically tight end and running back on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like what you're rooting for is to see a lot of running backs and tight ends be drafted. You want people spending their draft capital on things that don't take away from your next pick.
Right.
So like one of the things I played with when I've been using my software is like if it keeps drafting something in a weird spot and it's like not resulting in a lot of other people drafting the same thing afterwards, then I'm more inclined to overwrite it. Like if I were in this spot repeatedly and like hardly any running backs got drafted after Pollard, I'd be much less inclined to listen to what it's saying, because as an exploit, I should be taking something else first and then coming back to the
Oh, but here's the thing. You don't understand. We're actually exploiting in a different way, although it looks like we're working because Hubbard is going early. We're exploiting a different thing, which is that we're exploiting our ball knowledge in that we know that Tony Pollard is scoring a lot of points this week.
There we go. Yeah, that's obviously what my sims are doing. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Tony Pollard by Saturday when people are drafting these is going to be going earlier than this. He's going to be a top 15 pick, I bet.
Okay, now it's going to be interesting. What are we getting? Okay, it's listing Murray and Fields first. It's like, which way do you want to go? Now it's got Murray and Fields, and it's saying Murray first, which is interesting.
Murray, Murray and McBride. Beautiful.
Murray and McBride, it makes sense. All right, so we'll take him, and then I'll cook the next guy. So,
well, Crutches, I haven't looked at the ETR projections yet. I'm just guessing directionally that he'll go up higher.
Yeah. So now it's listing receivers, obviously. It's got Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Deontay Johnson, Devonta Smith, Josh Down. This is a lot in the similar range.
All right, I'm doing.
Terry McLaurin is up there, interestingly.
Do I want Devonta with Barkley? I don't think I do. I'm going to do Zay Flowers.
Zay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, CLV probably doesn't matter in BR. I'm gonna guess that is true. I'm gonna guess it really doesn't matter. It's just about finding the right combinations.
I imagine it matters.
It should matter a little bit.
Give me your take.
I mean, just like, for example, if a guy's teammates get hurt and he's going to get more opportunities, his CLV is going to go down. His ADP is going to go down. So definitely matters in that instance.
The scenario I have in mind is, so let's say you're getting a guy, you're drafting a guy 14th. Everyone else is drafting him 26th, and then he finishes at like 14th. Oh, I can't see what's happening. Ah!
I just closed the window.
Brutal stuff. Well, you know what I can do.
I've got it. We're back.
We'll get there. Oh yeah, let's get that back.
There you go.
Oh, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I can catch up. I was gonna say, so let's say early in the week you're getting a guy early, and then it turns out you're correct. Well, I mean, the value you get is the teams that you have with that guy are going to be stronger than everyone else's. Because you didn't expend the draft capital that other people had to later. And
even combinatorially, like a guy who, great example last week, Kenneth Walker was a 4th-round pick, scores 3 touchdowns on Monday Night Football, ends up being a 1st-round pick. Combinatorially, you could have gotten Kenneth Walker on teams with other high projected players you could not have gotten for the rest of the week.
Right, yeah, that's where I think whatever value there is, okay, it likes your options. Downs, Tank Dell are leading at the moment.
Let's do Downs. I kind of have I have a feeling, a very small feeling, that he's probably an acceptable play anyways. But then if they announce Flacco's playing, he becomes like a top 10 wide receiver. So I think he's marginally okay anyway, but then potentially becomes a very good pick with a little bit of. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr. ended up, I believe, going all the way up to the wide receiver 11 last week after not being drafted early in the week. So there you go. There's some more CLV information for all you nerds.
I think I misunderstood. So yeah, CLV does not matter as much as sports betting for sure. But like so like I mean, I guess you could say it doesn't matter. I guess that's kind of fair. But like it depends on how you define matter. Like, I mean, it's clearly if a guy's ADP is going up, that matters in fantasy football in general. But yeah, maybe not on your. I mean, you can kind of say the same thing with ownership, kind of. Where
it's more. I think when people are saying it matters, it's like, do we call it predictive? So let's say I'm right. Josh Downs does end up going way up. Josh Downs was the wide receiver 24. We just took him. Josh Downs goes up to wide receiver 10. Does that matter? Is it predictive? Should you be trying to accomplish CLV with your picks? I don't know.
Well, in the context of BRs, probably doesn't matter a ton, but in fantasy football in general, it kind of does. So like,
yes,
guys went up significantly in CLV from Thursday to Sunday, like, and then you should go look at your DK teams or your home league teams and be like, hey, maybe this guy who's now going the first, Jordan Mason going the first round, maybe I should pick him up off the waiver wire. You know, like if you're in a shitty home league and after McCaffrey got hurt or something. Like, so in fantasy football, it can matter. But I mean, ownership kind of same way too, because like, even if you get a guy in the beginning of the week who's not even getting picked and you're super sharp and you're taking him in the 6th round, and then eventually he gets picked like 30-40% of the time.
You know, the other thing that ruins
playing all those lineups, like it's good that they weren't picking him early, but there's like really nothing you could do about either way.
Well, so. and that even gets ruined in BR because hypothetically you're right, but people can swap. So because if you just start taking Q-tag players, like whatever projected ownership they would be if they couldn't swap, it gets ruined a little bit by swaps.
Right.
But I mean that just proves my point even more. It's because I'm saying like ownership doesn't matter a ton. Like because you like in DFS it matters quite a bit, but in this it doesn't matter a ton because you're going to be playing those lineups anyways. So it doesn't really matter. Like you'd want them to be lesser owned, but it doesn't. like there's nothing. I'm not explaining this very well, but
I think I know what you're getting at. I'm just thinking in my head, like, what's the spot where it really benefits you? And I think to push it to the limit, what you would want. So let's say at the end of the week, there's a guy that was being drafted in the 10% and only in the last round, and then just becomes an absolute smash. And by the end of the week, he's drafted in the 4th round, reliably. Let's just say that. In that case, it may be that, like, had we known that was going to happen, he would have been drafted 100% of the time. Let's just say that. In that case, it's definitely to your advantage to get him early, because he's never going to get to 100%, because there's not enough time late in the week to make up, because it's all, part of the week is gone. So he can't get to 100%. You've got this guy that should have been 100%. So basically, all of those teams you had him on early have a lot more EV than they should, because they're paired with other stronger bits, right? So I think that would be the starkest case where it's clearly worth something to have gotten him before people knew what was going on. But I think for a lot of marginal play, like, on the other hand, let's say there's a player who, like, early in the week he's drafted 10% of the time, and by the end of the week we learn that, oh, he's a better prospect for whatever reason, the quote-unquote optimal rate is 30%. Well, there's more than enough time for people to start jamming him in to bring up the average to equal that ownership number. So, like, he wasn't drafted very much, and then he's drafted a lot, and then at the end of the day, it averages out to something close to what it should be. So in that case, like, the fact that you drafted him in the last round didn't really help you very much, because he ended up being owned at the same rate anyway.
That's what I was kind of getting at. The clear, I think, example that shows this is the difference between BBMs and BRs. So, like, in BBM, if you get Jordan Mason in the last round and no one's taking him, well, that's great, because in your pod, no one is going to have, no one's going to have that guy. But in BRs, even though no one took them that early in the week, you're still, whatever it ends up at the end of the week, you're still competing against all those guys. Where you're not directly competing against, or if, let's say, no one takes Jordan Mason in your pods in BBMs, it's like, oh, good, I don't have to play against Jordan Mason this, in week 10. This is fantastic. Where in BRs, even though no one took them at the beginning of the week, you still have to play against them in the giant 60,000 man pod.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
the Jordan Mason example is the best reason of it mattering, because the combos that week where he, like, legitimately went from being undrafted on Monday while his teammate who got ruled out was being drafted in the first round. I mean, someone made a question about drafting early versus late. The thing is I'm so addicted to these games. Like, the 10 hours that the contests aren't available Sunday night to Monday morning are like the worst hours of my week. But in my opinion, if you are smart and you are NFL brained, like for Dan and Brian, drafting on Monday, this is not disrespect intended, would probably not be that worthwhile of an exercise for you guys to draft on Monday, because your brains are in the weeds with different things. But for someone like me, who, like, knows the player injuries, has opinions on what teams are good, what defenses are bad, what yada yada, I think it's very good to be drafting on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah, I think particular value is, like, there's like two ways to get it. Like, there's a running back going in round 6, and you really think he should be going in round 4. Well, you can take him in round 5, right? That would be the kind of move I would be thinking of making. Like, I'm getting better teams with him now than I would at the end of the week, and
Weirdly,
I'm getting value.
The Mason thing, the Mason week, kind of just misconstrued this whole thing, because that was such a singular thing where a guy, like, literally had first round value. Like, most of the time, because the difference between a 5th and a 6th round pick is, like, so marginal. But the difference between a first round pick and a sixth round pick is pretty. Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, that I am agree with.
Wait. Actually, let's simplify this. Maybe we can solve this really quick. Here, let me make this spreadsheet really quick. Here, let me share this. Doesn't this make sense? Tell me I am I'm wrong or I'm right. Underdog. Let's try.
I'd love to.
Let's see this. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, let's just say, forget positions, forget football. Let's just use numbers. Like, let's say this is the rank that the basketball gods tell us, is 100% right. Isn't it kind of simply this? We want, this 6. If we can't get that, we want this and then the 7th. We can't get that, we want this and then the 8th. Right? Forget correlations, forget all that stuff. This is just the order the best ball guides tell us. So every time our opponents don't know this order, we then gobble all this up. So if you can get this stuff in the 6th round, right? So let's say, you got the second best overall player, but no one fucking knows it. It's fantastic that they don't take him and you can get him whenever. Right? So isn't that argument over? Isn't that right? So there's correlations. It's way more complicated than that. But the bottom line is if you're getting guys in the 6th round that you otherwise wouldn't have earlier in the week, then you benefit.
Yes.
Right. And then it just becomes a question of like, how hard do you want to push? How much risk do you want to take in sort of pushing it late? Because the later you push that pick, maybe there's somebody else sharp in your draft and you get poached, right? So it's like, that's just experience and knowing who knows what.
Yeah, the drafts are real sweat fest, which is interesting. Like you go into one of these rooms and there are always names you recognize, people you recognize. All right, let's do another.
All right, this is going to be another vanilla draft.
Oh my god, the permissions again, dude.
I had to refresh a lot this morning.
The key. So Dan, I'll give you a hint. The key is actually not refreshing. The key is to totally retype in underdogfantasy.com.
I have discovered that as well. Yes, to go to the root URL and then
All right.
Hey, you're in.
Right in. Another interesting wrinkle this week is normally the quarterback ADPs start out very high and then they fall. It's not happened to Lamar Jackson this week. I think probably because he scored so many points last week and that is just fresh on everyone's mind. But generally speaking, that is the trend. And I found it interesting that his ADP that we're through, 30% of the drafts or whatever, and his ADP is not because I haven't really been taking him because I'm like, oh, I'll get him on Friday, I'll get him on Saturday. And now maybe I won't be. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm already too late and I'll already be below the field on Lamar.
In the drafts I did, one of the things I noticed is like Jaden Daniels kept going way earlier than I would ever take him. Like, I'm like, I guess I'm not getting any Jaden Daniels this week because everybody is just drafting him super early. So maybe there's something wrong with my process.
Well, it's a really good game. They play each other. Jaden Daniels and Lamar play each other.
Right, but is it worth the draft capital you lose to take him round 2? I mean, that's the question.
Well, the other thing is that running back is so weak. So once Jacobs goes, like you can really make an argument. Yeah. All right, we're up. I assume it is Barkley.
I don't know. It's so noisy. It's giving. Oh, this is hilarious. It's giving Jacobs. It's giving Amon-Ra. Jacobs and Amon-Ra winning at the moment. Let's do one. Yeah.
I'm not going to do Jacobs, so I'll take St. Brown.
Amon-Ra.
Go ahead, Brian.
Did you email Underdog that you didn't get the 1.1?
Yeah, I did. I said, guys, I'm trying to build a CD Lamb portfolio. You're kind of messing with my mojo here.
I think it's time to start looking at the Will Mallory overs. He's really blowing up here. Everyone's.
Let's see. Let's play a game. Everyone guess how many snaps Will Mallory played last week for the Indianapolis Colts against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think less than drafts Will Mallory's mom did on BR.
I think you guys are making up this player just to punk me. It doesn't actually exist.
No, dude. The Colts, Dan. The Colts are a hilarious team. They have 5 tight ends on their roster. You'd think that means they play a lot of 12 personnel. They don't. They just rotate them. They have 5 tight ends, and they all play about 11 snaps a game. It's very funny.
Oh, no. Jaden Daniels popped for a second, and then he fell back down again. God damn it.
It's going to want Jahmyr Gibbs, which is interesting.
Oh, God. It wants Kamara right now. I'm surprised. What?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. He's 3rd overall.
All right. He wants Kamara.
It's interesting. So I wonder. Well, you have Cardi stuff in here, right?
It's one of the 3 things. Yeah.
Okay. He's got Kamara projected for 1 billion points.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I think he has Kamara projected for like 22 points.
All right. I didn't realize that.
That's the discussion that needs to be had. I think the difference between the industry projections and trying to use ADP. Like, what are we trying to get out of the tool?
So
what do we got?
It says Tony Pollard. Chuba Hubbard.
I love that the projections are totally backing up this giga hot take that I had.
No, it says Chuba Hubbard. It says Fields appearing, Justin Fields. James Conner.
I'm gonna do Pollard.
Pollard, okay.
UnderDog Battle Royale. Brian, explain that thought a little bit more.
So, what are we trying to get out of the tool? Are we trying to get out of it like what Cardi likes best? No, I mean, I would say no.
Nope.
I think we're what I would want to get out of a tool is construction, like what my opponents have taken so far, what's likely to be there when I'm available.
Yeah.
Things like that. And it feels like projections override the strategy so much. It's just like, well, then
I'm not sure I agree, actually. So, and I'll tell you why, because I found a lot of spots where the order of positions that my stuff is taking is pretty different from what the field is doing. So, and it's not always about the projection either. So I'm not sure.
But then why wouldn't that happen when we use the vanilla ADP hack projections?
It does.
It does a little bit, but not nearly as much as when you pump in the industry projections. Feels like the industry projections are going to be dramatically different.
This was after this pick. Let's
I've spent more time with the vanilla stuff. Like the stuff with the ADP based is I've only done on the show. So maybe I need more time with it. It likes Downs again and Dell again and DJ again. And then Deontay Johnson, not DJ.
Deontay Johnson. Okay, I took Tank Dell.
Tank, okay.
Good point.
I don't think I've overruled any pick.
No, and to be fair, I mean, the process I'm running ideally would be running for like many minutes, not a few seconds. So I'm listing things that are kind of appearing in the same range because most of the differences are just going to be noise. It's saying Tucker Kraft, Jared Goff, Laporta.
Who's winning?
Stroud appeared. Goff winning. Why is Goff winning? I don't know if that makes sense.
Brown.
Yeah, I mean, are we worried about someone else taking him? Not really.
Let's do Kraft.
That could be a good suggestion tiers idea is like a projection suggestion and a projection neutral suggestion.
Yeah, you could run 2 models in parallel. I actually thought about that too. If I had infinite money, it'd be fun just to get multiple opinions. Like, I want a few different ways of looking at it.
Just borrow some of Utical's computing power. Just be like, Uta, this is our Endgame Syndicate is going to solve BR. We are going to have the winner every single week. We need, I know the computing power is different, but we need like an ASIC miner level of computing power to win these drafts.
What's the Neuralink? We got to put a Neuralink on Uta, plug them in.
I wish they would do like $5,000 drafts so we could get Utical tuned into this, so we could get his brain power working on this, like enough money to make him feel something.
That's funny.
Like Data from Star Trek. Anyone?
Exactly.
Anyone?
No, we're all I care about is what Galadriel has to think about Brian.
Yeah.
She just wants to fight. She's the fighter, Davis.
I hear she likes jewelry.
Sauron would be good at BR.
He's so dreamy. Sauron.
He is a very good.
That's the way I pictured Sauron. When I read those books all those years ago.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
to be fair,
what
in the Silmarillion, man, he's just a normal guy.
Right? Yeah. That's right.
Brian hates knowing ring.
Okay, Jordan Love goes, and it's
Goff or Stroud.
Mistake Goff. Let's let it cook. They're close. Let's see. They just switch spots. I mean, flip a coin, basically. I would say.
Are you doing?
They're super tight.
I'm gonna do Goff. Are you doing ownership projections in these? Like, does it care that Goff is and Stroud are both relatively low owned, or no?
It should absolutely care. It's computing what it thinks they should be owned, right?
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, it is factoring that in.
This is actually such a good point. Like, let's say in a week that ETR's projections are just like fucking locked in. Like Leone throws a perfect game. Like he gets everything, like all his judgment calls and the projections right. It would be so funny to look at the results and BR to just be like a duped team could win in a week that Leone is like dead ass right. Like a duped team could very easily finish first.
Kind of surprised more dupes don't happen.
It's only 6 man. I agree.
Really? I'm actually not, just because like it's so combinatorially huge. The state space is just so large that it just takes like one little change to send it into a different.
Like, I've worried about like duping myself before, and then I look and I'm like, oh, you actually weren't even close. You actually had 2 different.
That would be my concern as well. If you have like a very different process or different projections, then you're going to see all these guys falling to you that look great, and then you're going to have a bunch of teams that look similar.
But if you look at our ownership projections, there's like over 20 guys at like 95%, 100% owned.
Oh, let me see what mine thinks for efficient.
Yeah, we were talking last night, Davis, of adding some of this.
Yeah,
make some of that stuff public, like optimal percentages.
Let me see how many things should be over 95%. I can get that number.
Yeah, ETR has that. They have their optimal percentages and stuff.
2,
I don't know
3,
if you guys
4,
have fiddled around with that at all.
12, 13, 14.
Yeah, this I think is why I don't do it myself, is I do swap 6th round picks around quite a bit, especially at running back, because I'm like, Javonte Williams is a terrible pick, but I do want to take him sometimes or whatever.
So my stuff, the quote unquote efficient vanilla one, has 15 players drafted over 95% of the time.
Okay, so that's interesting. So that's the kind of stuff I really like to compare. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Fifth place last week in Battle Royale. Dupe.
Oh, wow.
We have 12 at 100%, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 at 94%. So what
Okay.
is that? 16?
This is last week's fifth place finisher. He duped with appropriately named Chalkfest.
I mean,
And
you're
this
just
is a chalk ass team. So this is all 100% drafted guys, basically. Burrow, Kyron, Hubbard, Chase. I guess Higgins was not 100% drafted. Everyone else was.
Anyways, I think we were like dead on even there, Dan,
Interesting.
with 95% are owned or higher.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. How many 100%ers do you have? Can you see that?
Well, I mean, it's a convergence algorithm, so it's never going to get perfect. But I'll give you 99%. How about 1, 2,
Yeah. Okay.
7, 8, 9. I got 9. But you know, it's the kind of thing. If I let it cook longer, that number would probably go up a little bit. Yeah.
Well,
Burrow and T were not 100%, but their combinatoric ownership, like how many T Higgins teams had Burrow, how many Burrow teams had Higgins, like a super high occurrence.
You know what I can do because of how I built this? I can actually search through all of the equilibrium drafts and answer combo questions like that, if you have any, for the vanilla set that I built. If we want to do that exercise. No, the field, because it needs to be so large, those drafts are not the super sharpest. If you look at them, like there's some obvious mistakes. It's more the hope that they're good in aggregate, because I only have so much compute time I want to spend on it. However, if we want to search for combos, I can do that on the vanilla one that I've built. Just keep that in the back pocket.
we're adding combos, I think, this next week, hopefully.
Oh, nice.
Draft caddy to projected combos, anyways. It looks like I have more projected, like higher owned, more 100%ers, more 90%ers than you by like 5 or 6, which I would say is good, because yours should be, I think. My guess would be an equilibrium strategy. The players would not be being concentrated, picked so much, so frequently.
Yeah,
I think the field does it too much.
I think that has to be the case, where,
Right.
especially when you get toward the bottom of the draft or the middle part of the draft order. I would imagine that's the case, where it's like, oh my God, this guy hasn't been taken by anybody. Shouldn't I take him? And he just doesn't make sense for your team, either for combinatorics or just varying it, the ownership. I could see that to be the case. Yeah.
And I think just the anchoring effect is a real measurable thing in real life. And so a guy who should be equilibrium owned 85% could so easily be 93, 94, just based on human behavior.
Sure. Yeah. Especially like, pick number, the picks right before the last round, I think, is where I would imagine there's the most anchoring, just psychologically. It's armchair psychology, but it's like, oh, there's, only one round left, and there's these where the distribution, if you actually look at it at several positions, is so flat that you don't have to just, depending on the rest of your team, you don't have to just plug in the best thing that's left. Like, you have choices.
It feels like they're drawn to tiering the players too. It seems pretty obvious. I wonder if there's like some sort of anchoring effect there too, where these guys move up due to their positional scarcity or something, but then now that they're moved up, people are like, oh well, I have to take him because his ADP is higher, and it kind of there's like a doubling effect.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there is some psychology going on.
There has to be, yeah. Especially for people who are much more casual, and they're just looking at the next N picks that are presented on my phone, right?
Yeah.
Which is probably reasonable in the early rounds, but it's not so reasonable in the late rounds, right?
Yeah. Which is an argument for using projections to measure all this stuff and just kind of.
Yeah, because if you're not using projections, you're just doing astrology.
Well, no, I mean, well, yeah. But I meant like instead of using like a makeshift ADP projection or something,
Yeah.
something more similar to what the field is thinking.
Uh,
All right, let's do another one.
do we want to
do-
keep with this one, or do we want to try the exploit thing?
Let's try the exploit thing.
Yeah.
Try the
I have a
exploit.
hot take on the exploit thing.
Okay, hit me.
I actually think it's going to be very similar to the one we just did, and I'll explain why in a minute.
Interesting.
I don't think it's going to be that different, but we'll see. Okay, week 6 exploit battle royale. Okay, we are loaded.
So explain what the exploit model is trying to do.
It's taking so it's assuming the field is drafting using Brian's ADP-based projection. So I take that assumption, I build a very large set of drafts, roughly equal, actually exactly equal to the field size. We then use that as our opposing field, and we use the vanilla blended projection set to draft against that. So because there's a delta between our projections and what the field has done, we should be getting a lot of strategic opportunities according to our stuff. But I don't think it's going to be that different. And the reason is, if the ADP stuff is close to correct, the opportunities we're going to get are going to be the same as if we just ran our vanilla stuff. Because our opponents are going to do stuff that looks more like ADP, and so the same kinds of players are going to fall to us, especially in the early rounds. That's my prediction. And then I think in the late rounds, if there's something weird, it's probably going to be in the late rounds.
This math can't be true. Well, no, it probably is. I win. Yeah,
Get first?
Win once every 25 years. For me, it's going to happen this year, though. I'll be
Right,
taking first in Battle Royale.
Oh,
A
shit,
minimum of once this year.
We've already started. Berkeley, Lamb, Henry.
How much do you sweat on Sundays, Davis? Are you just sitting there
BRs?
sweating? Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
I'll check after, like Nico Collins scores that 70-yard touchdown last week, and I knew he was my most drafted player, so I checked. My priority of sweats is my cash game team, my FFPC high stakes teams, best ball bags, BR.
Okay, we're on the clock. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. I'm not even gonna say that out loud.
Will Mallory.
No. Gibbs, Fields, Pollard. It also listed Jake Ferguson up there, which makes very little sense to me. I'm not drafting Jake Ferguson right now. I don't care what it said. Which one did you take? Gibbs?
We took Gibbs.
Okay, let's see. Now it's saying Kamara, Najee, Lamar. Those are pretty tight. It's got Kamara at the highest, but
the reason why it's saying Fields, I will. You know what? I'm going to take people behind. No, I'm going to take people behind the paywall, and I'm actually going to show them. I took Lamar. I took Lamar, by the way.
Okay.
Because I've got none of him, and I'm realizing now that is going to be an issue. Like it's at Thursday, his ADP hasn't fallen. I don't want to not have Lamar, so I got to just start taking him.
Yeah, so Fields fell quite a bit. He finished.
Well, 12, I will show.
Here
you go, guys. Here you are behind the paywall. Justin Fields projected for 22.13 points by the blitz. So
there's an example where like I would not do what an EQ strat said. I would delay that pick. Like I'd be like, okay, correct. Cool. Maybe I get him later.
But Fields is looking like the Ramondre Stevenson. So there's a pun to be made there. The Fields exploiter or something. Like there's a good pun to be made there. You don't like that, Brian? You like Stevens? You like Steven
I like
Sim better
Stevenson
than
better than the Fields exploiter. Yeah.
Fields?
Okay.
Fields Exploiter is pretty good. Come on, you got to
Yeah.
give it to me.
There could be something. There could be something.
For just off the cuff right there. That was overzetian in my ability to come up with that off the cuff.
Okay.
You got to hand.
I take it back. You're right.
Patrick Barnes YouTube is listening because he just took Jake Ferguson.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
Is this field generating equilibrium based field on the ADP, or is it?
Yeah. Well, no. The field, no. It's using equilibrium drafting, but the field is what we're exploiting. So the draft that we're running is assuming the field looks like your ADP stuff.
Okay.
And it's assuming everyone else in the draft knows that as well.
Right. So the field, though, is still EQ based on the ADP projections, though, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you could make this even more exploity, like in theory.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. It's saying Downs, Bowers, McBride, McLaurin. McBride and Bowers are at the top right now. I guess it's paranoid you're gonna, I don't know.
It's weirder to take Bowers here, so I'm gonna do that. So let's go
Nice.
Bowers.
Sweet. Hey, it finished first in this weird build that we had.
Okay.
But it was close.
It's gonna want, I assume, Downs now again.
We'll see. I mean, there's so much noise. Who knows? Maybe it'll poop out something else.
Actually, can you tell me what the EV would be if I take Flowers? Because that would be my preference.
Say Flowers. It does not. It thinks you lose half your EV. It wants digs. but we'll see when it comes back around if it still thinks that.
Well, you know what? Actually, if I can tell myself that I'm actually an idiot after something I just did, it's probably the occurrence of Lamar and Flowers together is twice as often in lineups as it's optimal. And the occurrence of Lamar and Downs is super low. But Lamar, maybe of all quarterbacks, probably more than Fields. Probably Lamar is the second most quarterback likely to be optimal without a teammate.
Well, I think so. My intuition, well, first of all, standard noise disclaimers, like this is not running very long. I have to wonder if it thinks you're going to have a good shot to get him later anyway.
No,
like
that right there, normally I'll defend my IKB. That actually was just straight up stupid of me. Like I think that is a spot where the computer clearly knows more.
I mean, Lamar's nice because like if you don't, like, let's say you don't correlate with him, like it's almost like you're indifferent to whether you get the correlated piece or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like take him, don't take him, whatever.
Yeah. And there was probably like a 5 or 10% chance he comes back at least, right?
Probably higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. No. Crutches. You're with me when I'm wrong. I think that was bad of me there. I think the move was to take Diggs because actually the thing that the liberals don't want you to know is that Isaiah Likely is the better pick with Lamar this week.
Uh-huh. Well, there's still a chance for you to take double tight end.
I did a couple accidental double tight end clicks last week when I was playing with my dog, and I was like, my cope was, well, the field doesn't do two quarterbacks at all, or two tight ends together at all, so I have outs. And last week was a great tight end scoring week.
It's saying Terry McLaurin now.
So you
and Josh Downs
while you're playing with your dog?
Yes.
So it's saying
like,
Terry McLaurin.
You got a ball in one hand and the app in the other.
So we're going to take Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, we're going to take
McLaurin. Now it's saying take another running back. So it has Dobbins at the top at the moment.
We haven't gotten this deep yet. We have not gotten this deep in a running back yet, which is interesting.
This might be an actual exploit move where it's saying I don't see enough Dobbins being drafted. So that's interesting. What was the percent?
Oh man, Sermon's gonna end up being the click. What percent?
How often is Dobbins drafted?
6.1%.
Oh wow.
That feels a smidge low to me.
Okay, this makes perfect sense. So if I look at this makes sense why it wanted to click that, because when I ran my vanilla stuff, it thought Dobbins should go like 63%.
Wow.
But Brian's ADP based, I can just type that in and figure it out. Let's see how often he was drafted in. So this is one where I think we're actually going to see exploitation happening in practice. So not that. This one. All right.
I mean, this was a little different. This draft
we're looking for, who was it? Dobbins?
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins.
Okay, so first I'm going to count that, and then I'm going to look for Dobbins.
Dobbins does feel like a pretty classic exploit play where the field's like pretty over him. He was on a bye last week. He was unimpressive in the game before the bye. But anyone who does projections, like his backup is hurt. So either his backup is not going to play and his other backup is a undrafted free agent who has not been active for a game yet. Like this is actually, Dan, it's very funny. It's your computer knowing ball. It's literally your computer knowing ball.
Okay, so here's the numbers, and so this is good because it's showing. So whether you agree with these numbers or not, so the vanilla thing, the non-exploit thing, thought it should be drafted over half the time. When I used Brian's ADP-based projections, and I look at the lineups that got generated from that, it was only drafted like 2% of the time. So that's why, if those numbers were right, he's a freaking smash, right? Because he's just massively underdrafted. So it makes perfect sense.
All right,
and he
so there you go.
probably is quite a bit. We haven't projected like 5% draft right now.
Now, let me look at my projection set and see who likes it.
Look up like Rico Dowdle and Brian Robinson Jr. too, because we have them low projected. I'd be interested.
So they're all pretty tight. So ETR, Blitz, and Vanilla, and RG rather. The difference in projection from lowest to highest is 0.85 points. So it's not like there's an outlier in there. It just thinks he's just chronically underowned. If those percentages are correct.
They probably are. Yeah. His ADP currently is 35.5. So
ownership projections ownership projection should be fairly easy for BR, Brian, shouldn't it? Because
nothing's
underdog
easy, unfortunately.
Nothing's easy, but underdog is at least giving you some of the ownership information via the ADP.
Yeah. I've been we've been talking about this for a while. I think there's a lot of useful stuff from Underdog's ADP that we can utilize, and not just even BRs. And we're trying to leverage it a little bit, but that is definitely
before we hop into another draft. Dan, I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of plates that you're juggling. I would love for there to be some sort of tool for us to do Best Ball Mania drafts together next year. You know, I could be asking you to do an impossible thing, but I do think it would be fascinating to get some kind of computer guided process for doing BBM drafts next year.
Well, we definitely want to do something there on EndGame Syndicate.
Yeah.
And we definitely will be doing something. That's about all I can promise right now, is there will be, we between me and Brian and the others, like we have like a million ideas of things we would like to try. So
getting Utica on a best ball stream would be like getting him to spend his time on a $25 draft would be truly funny content. All right, let's hop in another one.
Let's
Brian,
do another one of these exploity things. So it did actually
Yeah.
kind of match my intuition there, where it was on the last round where it got very different. But it's the sample size of 1, so I'm not going to pat myself on the back too hard.
here's the thing, Brian.
Yeah.
We need you. If Dan is in these streets, Dan is drafting like 2-game fucking baseball slates. Dan is in the streets. We need you to get in the streets. We need you because a good bit on this show would be us to look at our results each week. And
I need more tools. I need Dan's stuff to be.
I also need better. I need some better results. Although I did well on that 2-game NFL thing. But,
if we start getting the optimal percentages and stuff like that, and we put it on wherever, then I'll do some more drafts.
You just need to know ball, or just wait. I guess the Bears are not on this slate, but
Just
a Bears slate.
stack the Bears.
I mean, how are you, dude? Caleb, man, he's coming along. How you feeling?
I'm not hating it.
I saw one game with Mr. Williams. So he seemed aight.
He's
Yeah.
a good player. He's a good player.
Amateur eyes. Yeah.
You'd be surprised in football how often. There you go. Bears are on the primetime Palooza slate.
Yeah. The annoying part. So there's a 3-game slate. It's like, what is it? Thursday, Sunday, Monday, I think. But we don't know. The annoying thing is, it's got an annoying neighbors issue. We don't know what's up with.
He's not gonna play. It's Thursday. He's still in the concussion protocol. Seems bad. Seems like just like for his health as a human being, it doesn't seem that great. But I don't think he's playing.
Okay. Yeah, I would have hopped in those by now, but I'm like, I think there's actually quite a lot of edge to be had.
I was gonna say there's
like
an exploit.
manipulating all of the injury stuff and figuring that out. I just don't have a personal interest in that part of the game. So like when I see a slate like that where injury is a big deal, like I just kind of skip it. I'll test my stuff on something else. It's saying Najee Harris. What?
I'm not doing that.
No. Next it says Godwin, Hubbard, Chuba Hubbard, Kamara.
I'll do Kamara.
All right, I'll
Okay,
take Kamara.
okay.
And then now it says Mike Evans, Drake London. God, why does it want Najee here? Tony Pollard has appeared. Ramondre has appeared. I see.
Wow. Ramondre, I think sadly.
Mike Evans winning. I don't know why.
Ramondre Will Mallory lineup would just crush.
Dude. Ramondre Will Mallory, that's free money.
All right. Yeah, Evans was the winner in my little semi-sim there.
Okay. That's so
it's a little weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is a little bizarre.
That's a little weird.
Who's got Najee projected so high?
Let me take
a look. It's not Cardi.
Let me look.
Cardi has well,
I also have to see how old my projections are.
16.26 is pretty high.
It's pretty high, but it's still less than Connor, Bijan.
So those are
Hubbard.
DK numbers. So I have for FanDuel, the numbers in my 3 sets are 13.2, 13.8, and 14.9.
14.9
is still pretty high. So the other thing is it looks like Jalen Warren's might actually play this week. No one is projecting him in, but he's been at practice today and yesterday.
Yeah, that would matter quite a bit.
Yeah, I do not simulate ejections. Just to answer the question.
It's so funny, Dan. Do you know why people are saying that?
No, I don't. That's not a team I see much of. I saw one of their
games. He and the Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore get in legitimate fist fights every time these two teams play each other. I believe he's been ejected from this game 3 times.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we used to have some players like that on the Broncos that were just.
You're scrappy 3-2 Denver Broncos, buddy.
Yeah, I know. We were at the last game. That was quite fun.
Did you get a Bo Nix jersey yet?
No. I was
You
told
should-
I can't wear a jersey with another man's name on it.
Unless they're twice your age divided by 2 plus 7.
That's so embarrassing for you, Brian, to not wear a jersey.
So anyone over 57, Dan, you can wear their jersey. So like, who are those? Any of the 80s guys? Elway, you could wear Elway. I'm assuming Elway in the 60s.
It's got Pat Fryermuth popping.
I'm not doing that.
Bowers. It's got Bowers, Pollard, Fryermuth, Jacobs are current.
All right, I'm gonna do Bowers, Pollard. Well, I'll take Bowers first.
Take
Then see what it
Bowers,
says.
and then I'll let it because it's gonna roll some different dice now. So it says Dobbins again. That's interesting. It says Najee, Dobbins, Chuba, Pollard. Godwin has appeared. Chris Godwin has appeared.
I don't think you want Godwin and Evans together.
No, I don't think so.
Famous last words. I probably said.
Yeah, they're like, aren't they like exactly the same player?
Yeah.
It's like flip a coin.
I took Pollard.
So that's an interesting meta question. Like, does it make sense to super stack that way, given the payout structure? I don't know the answer.
Hard
I
to
think
say.
we were on another stream, and I think intuitively you might be increasing your cash rate but lowering your win rate. And the question is it worth it?
Well, let me tell you, I don't care at all about my cash rate. I'll punt on these forever. But man, do you know how many fucking people would watch this show the week after I shipped it?
With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, yeah.
Just with whatever it is. If we ship it, if we win with one of these teams on the stream, like 900 people are watching the stream next week. I bet.
For sure.
Maybe not. Pete said that actually his audience, people are like commenting on his videos that they like it better when he loses. Like Pete's been on this. Pete had. So Pete won the $100 tournament last week and had 2 top 10s in the $5 the week before.
Yeah.
And he said his commenters are like, we like it better when you lose, which is very funny.
Misery loves company, I suppose. That's really fun. It's like, the sharp people, they lose just like me,
It's hard to say. All right.
I haven't been paying much attention to what we actually have. Okay, double running back, Evans, Bowers.
This, by the way, feels like a good team to take Justin Fields on if the computer wants to exploit for that.
Okay.
Because I would prefer not to have very many Baker teams.
Sure. Let's see what it comes up with.
Did Najee Smith go?
Najee
Harris.
Najee Harris, I meant.
Ooh! Okay, guess what? You're going to love this. He wants to do Pickens and Fields. Yeah.
You know what? I actually like if you're doing 150 battle royales, you should do that at minimum of one time. Actually, you know what? Even
you
if
could
you're
also
doing
do Downs if you prefer, and do something else.
No, we're gonna be heroes, Dan.
All right. Yeah. Pickens and Fields it is. So, that's going to be interesting. I would like to look through the ADP-based drafts and see how many Pickens Fields lineups there are. Let's run that.
Like none.
Let's see. Well, there might be. Let's see.
I mean, just looking at their ADP, Fields ADP is 35.5. Pickens is 35.4. Now, obviously, the instances of any Fields lineup, you're more likely to see Pickens. Any Pickens lineup, you're more likely to see Fields. Probably any Bowers team, you're slightly more likely to see Fields than any other quarterback, like quarterback X. All that being said, the instances are still quite low. And by the way, I meant to show you guys this, which I bet you don't even know exists. But there is this battle royale leaderboard now. So
Uh-huh,
you can do
cool.
things. So we can do things like this. Last week we can go see how many times was T Higgins drafted.
Oh,
So
nice.
he was only on 3,501 3,516 teams. So there's a way to kind of go back and this may or may not be helpful for you, Brian, to reverse engineer how right your ownership projections were. Based on actuals.
Yeah, I'd have to. I think we do save what we predicted too, so we probably could. Does Underdog pump out the BR CSVs each week?
I assume it has.
I mean, they have to,
right?
basically.
Yeah, I assume there's no other way for this to be done. Yeah.
Okay, I looked at the the ADP-based draft numbers. So of the 56,210 drafts, there were 173 Fields Pickens teams. So that's a very low number indeed. Which is probably why I like it. Yeah.
End of the year, they just shared it. So the guy who runs this website just scrapes it. Which, if I'm being honest, I've been on the internet too long to say this, but it's too I don't know what scraping means, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. But it means it definitely does. It definitely does mean something. Yeah, don't tell me.
Super secret. Yeah.
Do you know how you can edit the HTML, Davis, and change the names of the players?
Oh, inspect element.
It's basically just expect element. You got
it. I told you this. My stream 2 weeks ago, they taught me how to inspect element. I'd never really done it before. They taught me how it works.
If you don't know something that people do coding wise, just assume it's under the inspect element. I got an idea for your stream next week, Davis. With the title. What about these Sims will get you laid easily?
Yeah, you fundamentally misunderstand the person who's clicking on a battle royale sim. They're not interested in that. They don't even no. All they want is so solving daily fantasy football easily. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's
like the idea of this will get you laid, and then the lead-in music is a little Marvin Gaye, let's get it on, and then clicking of the keyboard, and then
this
Barry
is
White
more,
maybe.
This is if you want to learn about programming and stuff like that, you got to go to endgamesyndicate.com.
Yeah. That's if you want to get super nerdy, you're gonna
have to go to endgamesyndicate.com. All right. Okay, let's do Brian, how much time do you have?
We got 15, 20 minutes before lulls. So
okay, let's do this final iteration, Dan.
All right, one more exploity one.
No, don't you have another model, or is this the third?
I have three. This is the one we've been doing.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Davis, I like the one we've been doing actually.
I like these teams.
Davis, do you think your audience would like? Someone suggested earlier too, just to hire two hot chicks to play ping pong behind Dan.
No, you guys really fundamentally misunderstand the type of person who.
We need to get the T levels up. All right, and across.
It's not going to happen.
Is there a lower T level group of men than the men who are watching Sims for a niche? Like fantasy football is a niche. Daily fantasy football is a smaller niche. Best ball is an even smaller niche inside of that. Then best ball weekly drafts is the smallest possible niche. I think you guys are overestimating.
All sounds like high T activities to me. I don't know what you mean there. Just higher T after higher T thing you just mentioned.
It's hard to say. Okay. The final exploit draft. Kicking my I have to say I'm owning it with the timestamps.
Nice.
The timestamps are they're really good. They all the stuff I've been posting has been doing a little bit better on.
Can you see in the back end? I should know this, but can you see in the back end people actually clicking your timestamps? Percentage of users?
Oh.
Ooh, maybe. I'd have to dig deeper. I'd have to dig deeper into the analytics.
Yeah, that'd
Probably not. But you can see when the times when people drop off, and you can see people who are there. Like you can see when people are likely to leave your video and what are high retention times and low retention times.
most viewed and stuff like that. It should tell you something somewhere.
Here, let me pull up the YouTube studio for
CD Lamb. So it's going to be
Barkley.
Who was it?
It's saying Amon-Ra right now.
Really likes Amon-Ra, huh?
Yeah. Oh no, it's saying Barkley. Is it,
projected for a lot of points.
Pick one of those guys.
You just gonna auto draft it, Davis?
I had Barkley at the top.
There you go.
Barkley.
Brian, you're too old to understand how functional my brain is to understand how good I am at multitasking. Like that right there, what I just did is insane to you. To me, I was like, that's breakfast. Christopher, I hope you're right. I very much hope. I love the idea of Dan just being the supercomputer guy. That is extremely good content.
How about this? These Sims will win you 50,000 guaranteed.
Well, you don't want, buddy. You don't want.
That's too much.
You don't want false advertising.
Mm.
I have noticed when the titles get a little bit too enthusiastic, they do not do as well. So if you do like these experts have the best picks, they don't do as well. You need one hook, not two. I
kind of like the other angle too. I think you should title one, lighting money on fire, or
you know what? If I have a bad week this week, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be lighting money on fire with Dan NerdyTenor's computer.
I had to sell my house because of these Sims. These Sims made me sell my home.
All right, Dan.
Here we come.
What are we doing here?
I don't know. One more draft pick to go.
Debo Samuel is your captain tonight.
There goes Drake Lifton. Okay. Okay. Cook, baby, cook.
Oh, I don't want AJ Brown.
What? Oh, that's so weird. It's Justin Fields winning. Lol. This must be some weird exploit thing too. Fields, Harris, Pollard, Chuba, Jalen.
I'm gonna do Jaden Daniels.
Daniels here.
That was
Jaden was sixth in the list at the end there.
That was an exploit by me exploiting the exploiter.
That's so meta. Like my head is going to explode.
So meta. All right, I have last week's video of ours pulled up. It does. It's not letting me organize it by timestamp, Brian. Which is interesting.
There goes Mr. Brown.
Because if you watch the YouTube shows, it'll show that little bar graph on the bottom where you can, and it'll show like high points. So I imagine that's got to be in the back end. I've never looked for it.
I'm sure there is a way to do it. But I don't know how.
Here goes Trey McBride. All right. So now,
classic Pollard pick here, I bet.
Oh, so much noise. Deontay Johnson, Chuba Hubbard, Najee Harris, and then Tony Pollard. Our good friend.
Deontay Johnson.
He disappeared actually. No, it's Diggs, Harris, Hubbard, Terry McLaurin. You could probably wait on Terry McLaurin, I'm guessing.
We'll do Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs. I think Diggs could be a guy that people have gotten bored with because he's been on a bunch of these slates and has not been the key once. But maybe this is the week. This is Clay. That's good. Sims to buy or sell your house. That is pretty good.
Speaking of EndGame Syndicate, Davis, you just mentioned, I put the link of our YouTube in chat. We got me and Dan and Yuta and Adam make videos over there if you guys are interested.
Yeah, we did a roundtable last night where we talked a little bit about this stuff, and then the guys did a subscribers only roundtable video as well.
Yeah.
All right, we took Jaden Daniels on this one.
Yeah.
I guess I've already taken McLaurin on one. I really prefer to play specifically, like it's funny to think about this intersecting with salary cap DFS. Like it's harder to play Daniels in salary cap DFS because you have to fill out 9 lineup spots and you don't really want to use McLaurin with him. So it's harder to hit a 9-leg parlay. Much easier to hit a 6-leg parlay. So easier to not take McLaurin with him in this than in salary cap DFS.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think about this field situation. And we got a pick here coming up.
The joke is going to be on us when Russell Wilson starts, and we can't swap. I predict it's going to want McLaurin.
I think it's going to want McLaurin
or
now
Pollard.
because it's gonna think it's more likely you're going to get sniped now that you.
I think I gotta say the exploit draft I think I like.
Who got taken? Evans?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it now. Okay, let's see what it's saying. Oh, what? Now it's getting weird.
Say
no, that's not that weird. No, Sam Laporta, Dallas Goedert.
So the guy after us already has a tight end. That's
so and then Javonte Williams. That's a weird one, isn't it?
It's not that weird. I took McLaurin. I didn't even really mean to.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't take him now, I was going to take him the next round.
It's like classic. Yeah, he's that was just me not knowing ball. That was me not being aware. You hate to see it. You do hate to see a man not being aware of what's going on around him. I just gave up like 37 cents of EV there. I'll never get that back.
We haven't been looking at our EV either.
Yeah, we haven't been looking at the EV.
Well, the thing is, those numbers are not going to be the way I built this. Those numbers aren't telling you anything now.
Yeah.
On this one, it doesn't work. I guess you could say we'll look at it anyway. That what I said might not be right actually. But we'll see what it says.
I predict it's going to want Laporta here or Goddard.
Let's see. Wait. Oh, this guy still hasn't acted. Okay. So he got Hurts. And he got Pollard. Okay.
It's not that weird to take Javonte, though.
It's saying, he disappeared. Ramondre appeared, but then it says Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is winning at the moment.
Hubbard is a very good play.
Yeah, he's winning by about $3 right now.
I forgot there's showdown tonight. I gotta register.
I know, me too. I think I'm gonna do the 2-game baseball as well for the full D-Gen experience. And I'm gonna draft. I like to draft the 2-gamers because it's a good test for my
50K to first for the 2-gamer. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, decent chance that gets duped actually.
Yeah, I am trying to help my friends at EndGame Syndicate make a fortune, but they're making it too complex. Like, you guys are wanting to build this like really useful tool that grades your team and tells you how well you did, and I'm saying all people want is a GIF that tells them their team is either good or bad, and they will pay for the ability to do so.
Yeah, but making money is so boring. God.
Cannot relate, Dan. Cannot relate in any way, shape, or form.
That's why I have to come down to this, basement in my castle to change it up. All the life of opulence that I live.
Guys, he's in the hatch. He's in the hatch from Lost. That's exactly where he is. He's typing. He's like Desmond having to type. What was it? Type in the number every 96 minutes. He has to do.
Yeah, that's right. He has to enter the code. Forgot about
that. So after this pick, I want to talk about fields if we can.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. We
just fields or simulated fields?
The Fields Exploiter.
Oh, likely has disappeared. All right, it's our turn to pick a tight end.
Tell me if Zach Ertz shows up in this.
He is showing up, and but he's not first right now. It's listing Cade Otton and Zach Ertz are pretty close right this second. Now it's Goddard winning. Now it's Pitts.
Right.
It's hopping all over the fucking place.
So
Pitts
here's
is
the
winning.
thing. I'm gonna make a new rule for myself, actually, as I'm doing this. I'm just gonna take Taysom Hill in round 6 at tight end, and let me tell you why. Either
Right.
he's gonna be like the best play of the slate because he gets some quarterback snaps this week, or he's just not gonna play, and I'll be able to swap him for a good tight end play.
Okay, yeah, I like it. It's a
And
volatile.
I haven't been doing it yet. I'm just realizing, like, literally as I was like, wait, Derek Carr is out, and you're not taking Taysom Hill. Davis, you're an idiot. Okay, Brian, the Justin Fields discussion. What would you like to say?
I'm trying to. I imagine it's hard for me to wrap my head around what's everything that's going on with all and within all these sims and variations. I imagine it's really, really hard for people following along to understand. I'm debating whether I should spell it out here or not. With like an Excel sheet, but basically
the Excel sheet was very helpful last time.
Well, okay, let's do an Excel sheet then. Unless I just cut. Okay, yeah, this one. So, and Dan's gonna have to correct me when I say something wrong. So, an EQ field is what it's kind of doing back here is it is. Why can't I zoom in? Like, let's just say these players are we think they should go in this order. What the EQ field is going to do is assume that all the other players are also playing optimally, like this. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So they all rank the players basically the same way. There's going to be, randomness and correlations, and the field's going to play a whole bunch of different variations and stuff, but it's assuming that everyone is playing optimally, sort of like what you see here in front of you. So when you tell it that this is kind of the optimal way, it's going to say Justin Fields should be picked, here in this range. Right. And when in real life that doesn't happen, it's going to be like, oh my God, let's gobble up this Justin Fields info.
Right, just a tiny bit of nuance there. So, like, you would expect. So, let's say you're just expanding on your point a little bit. So, this ordering is the ordering. This is the optimal ordering. So, obviously, even if everyone agrees that's the optimal ordering, the draft should not literally all go in that order, because if they did, you could print EV by changing up your play, and then you wouldn't be at equilibrium. So you're going to see like bands where people randomize a little bit. It's like, okay, so I'm on the 4th pick. Well, I can pick 4, or I can pick 5. Maybe not with the same frequency, but I'm going to mix it up. So just to make it slightly more precise, there is a point at which these early players will have been drafted 100% of the time in the equilibrium strategy, right? So let's say, the number 5 here at equilibrium is always drafted between 5 and 9. Well, in that case, if you're using that equilibrium strategy and you're in a draft and you're 10th and he hasn't been picked, it's just always going to pick him, right? 100% of the time. It's going to say, holy shit, I'm getting this guy way late, and I'm getting a combo that nobody has, because every other draft he was picked between the 5th and the 9th pick or whatever. I'm making it up, the numbers. Anyway, go on.
Sure. And we don't have a lot. This conversation's for way too long for I have like 3-4 minutes here. So I'm just gonna kind of say like what I think and also an issue is if in exploitive play, I think there's an issue too. It would take Fields too high. given it would still take Fields too high. And what we really want in BRs, more very specifically compared to DFS, is we want Fields at the latest possible time, but still before everyone else. And I think that's one thing we're not gathering here. And I think even if we did go full exploitive, it still wouldn't give us what we wanted. So I don't know. That's something maybe we need to think about.
I promise you, everyone is not playing Equilibrium.
Right.
I do guarantee you that.
Right. I was just responding to crutches because I see this thing again. It's like, well, if everyone was playing at Equilibrium, I'll just play exploitatively. No, the point of Equilibrium is you can't exploit it, right? That's what it means. Right. But that's the definition of it, is that everyone is just always taking the max EV decision. And the only reason why you randomize is because you have some that have the same EV. So you switch it up between them, right?
It's like similar like in DFS, if there was perfect salaries somehow they can make perfect salaries that are all correlated. Like, well, then you can't really pick a winner because it doesn't matter what your opponents do. They could just randomly pick a team and it'd be perfect.
The only way to win there would just be on ownership, like if there was an ownership mistake.
But like in theory, like they could know what the ownership's going to be and then adjust the salary to make all that even.
Right.
You couldn't really do this, but just like saying theoretically, it's got every piece of information in that salary. So like the guy's like $762 salary cap, it's just absolutely perfect for this one player and this guy,
Right.
Or they could get it close enough probably where it wouldn't matter. So you don't want perfect salary in DFS, and you don't want your opponents playing Equilibrium in BR.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but I think you're right. The thing is to use your knowledge of what people should do and then leverage it even more.
Yeah.
So you don't take Daniels, even if in theory everyone should be fighting to take Daniels much earlier for exploitative reasons. Instead, you say, well, I think I could probably wait a little bit longer and get an even better team and still pick up that EV. Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of.
But how to model that at my level, I don't.
That's exactly. Yeah, that's a deeper conversation, but that's really what. That's like the ideal exploitive strategy, I think.
Yeah,
it's not just we know Fields should be played more, but we take them at the optimal or most exploitive point.
Right, and I've seen this dynamic already with experienced drafters, like some of the people in the chat, where it's like there's a running back that's clearly not being drafted early enough, and they're drafting them. They're getting a lot of them, but they're delaying because they know there's a very good chance that no one else will draft them, right? Which makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Well, I got to head on over to Lulz. Davis, you want to rate us, buddy?
I did.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, are you guys going to keep going, or?
Yeah, Dan, let's do at least one more.
All right.
One more so that I gotta get later, Brian.
Later, guys.
I gotta get the video to 2 hours. It's you'd think it doesn't matter, but in my world, Dan, my world of playing The Sims, of exploiting the YouTube game, you'd be surprised they might, like what we were talking about on the EndGame stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more with the exploitative, and then
I'll bring him up. Okay, I'm good to go.
Do you want the most neighbors exposure, or would you want fewer neighbors but on the best versions of neighbors teams? My gut answer, you'd want 0 neighbors. That's my gut. That's my gut. for the Primetime Palooza. Have we had the second pick yet? I don't think we have.
No, we have. We did. I can't remember which draft it was. We have had the 2.
In general, so if you assume a true questionable, well, he might be a smash, but he's not going to play. If you assume a true questionable, like not a concussion thing, but like an ankle sprain or whatever, like a true questionable, I would assume I assume I'm actually wrong. I think you want the most neighbors exposure.
So how do you think about?
So Crutches is asking even a different question. He's saying he's just playing, right?
Okay.
So just purely a good play. You could take a 1-1 occasionally in the second round. Yeah, you just want the most neighbors teams. Again, wow, Bijan Robinson goes 101. So
Here comes the random
change.
number generator. It's spinning and
Yeah.
spinning, and it's going to give you one of Amon-Ra, Kamara, Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb. I would just pick one you want to do.
Well, CD is I'm riding or dying with Sedarian Lamb.
I think it's interesting. I think for the very best plays, like my gut is that in most NFL slates, it probably doesn't even matter which ones you pick for the first few picks. They're probably all very close in a lot of slates. It's more like what kind of, I don't know. Maybe that's not true.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see. Yeah, I think more of the interesting choices are in the middle and the end in this kind of format.
All right, that works. Yeah, man, I really hope I'm right about CeeDee Lamb this week. If not, by the way, Josh Downs, who we did just take a couple times, he did not practice again today.
Oh.
So that sets up a really interesting thing that will alter projections. Where like Anthony Richardson might end up being a much better pick because the projections are going to shift them more run heavy and are going to shift his rush share higher. So that is just something. That's just something for those of you who are trying to exploit the field and ball knowledge to think about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's I'm trying to think about what lessons I'm going to be taking away from picking in this. I think J.K. Dobbins will be the big one that I like in my drafts. I'm like that just makes total sense to me.
And that's exactly the kind of player I would expect to pop. And I'm glad to see that it worked. It's like a late round pick where he's just not that worse than the other guys being picked in that range. And
he's the same play as Josh Jacobs. He really is.
You could play Alvin Kamara is winning here.
Yeah, I'm deep enough in this Sims mind to know what it wants me to do by now, I think.
Deontay Johnson was up there too.
The projections are always going to love Deontay Johnson more than I do. I just don't think he's very good. Yeah, for my real fantasy football grinders, make sure Kamani Vidal is owned in your league because he's going to get 8 rushes this week.
Cool.
Dan is asking, the choices don't matter in the beginning. Is that slate specific just because they're all projected for like 18 points?
That's my gut, is that they're all projected. Like, I think, I don't know. I'm not. This is just a take I have. It's not really data driven. It feels like it's just relatively flat up there usually.
Yeah.
Can I?
Well, normally it's not. Normally the first round is not flat, but it is.
Maybe that's just this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess it wants McBride.
You'll never guess who it wants now. Oh no, it changed its mind. McBride is up there. It has Hurts up there. Najee, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Hubbard.
No, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do Hurts, and then with our next pick, is there a way for you to tell I guess not the way it works. I was gonna say I wanted to get the EV of just we're locking in Devonta Smith with our next pick, but that's not how it works.
Right, because I won't know what's left. Yeah.
How am I treating Neighbors in season long? He's fine. He's assuming, man, I don't know. Three missed games with a concussion is not great.
It's not the best.
I like this. I like doing the wide receiver, one of Kamara or Gibbs or Jacobs or Pollard, whoever, and then one of the running quarterbacks, whether it be Lamar, Hurts, or Daniels, and then you're opened up quite a bit.
Yeah, I found that I was overriding my stuff a lot when I played with it to take because it liked to take 2 running backs in the first 2 picks. But the thing is, I liked the strategic places I ended up in if I didn't do that.
Didn't do that.
Because, I mean, even if that strategy is correct, and I don't know if it is, but even if it is, like, you have to consider how your opponent's play interacts with it, and like, you want to give your opponents opportunities to make mistakes that you can take advantage of, and like, if you leave open, if you close the running back slot, like, and then
your opponents can't hurt you with a running back pick; they can only help you.
Right, and also, like, there's a chance they fuck up and leave a really good running back for you later, and now you can't take it. It's saying Tony Pollard now.
All right, can you punch in Devonta Smith?
Sure, Devonta Smith.
That's me exploiting the exploiter.
Devonta Smith, he was 2, 3, 4. He was listed 8th. Can't be that bad, right? I mean.
Yeah, so I mean, again, like I know so little about what is going into your modeling, but I would think that the expected value of a Devonta Smith Jalen Hurts team would be higher than a Jalen Hurts without his teammates. However, one thing it could be doing is it was planning on pairing him later with Dallas Goedert because tight ends have already been selected, so he's likely to get him. The other thing it could be saying is, yeah, Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts project for good raw points together, but the field is very woke to it. And if the field is very woke to it, you're not deriving as much of a benefit.
Yeah, you just remind me of a dynamic I saw one week. It's saying Dobbins, Connor, Pollard. It also says Goddard. That's weird. Laporta. Goddard.
No, Goddard is not.
Oh no, Goddard is your correlated piece. Yeah,
It's a correlated piece, and I think what it's saying with Devonta being down, but then once we take Devonta, I think what it's saying is, by Brian's ADP, by the way it's cooked up, is these players correlate. These players all project for good points, but in the runs we did, we don't see them go together very often, despite the correlation.
Yeah, that could be.
So that's what I think it's doing.
Yeah, we'll see if it still wants him when it comes around. So I saw an interesting dynamic. I don't know if it's last week or the week before, where it would do this thing that seemed very clearly strategic. Where be like, I'm drafting second. I have the 2, and I'm coming around to my turn, and neither I nor the 1 have a quarterback yet, and it would take the tight end that goes with one of the attractive quarterbacks available, and then would basically pivot its next pick based on what the other guy did next.
That is an interesting thing
to me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got outs. Whatever he does, I have something good I can do.
Jalen Tolbert, by the way, he's the gold star scroll wide receiver. If you're trying to figure out a wide receiver to take an exploit position on this week, to the folks listening at home, make it Jalen Tolbert.
I'm surprised he didn't get steamed up a little bit.
He projects for a lot of points. Yeah,
projects really well. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Does it want us to take Goddard, Kraft, Pitts, likely?
It wants Goddard by a good margin.
Goddard by a good margin.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
I think yes, but it would be much harder programming work for Dan to be able to find more of an edge in the 12-man drafts. I think yes, but it would your poor computer would be so taxed trying to do all of that work.
I mean, it's really just an engineering problem. It's like how much can you compute quickly enough and affordably enough? Just not interesting strategically. It's just like, how quick can I make my code? Generally speaking, in all competitive gambling activities, the more volatile a thing is, the better it is for the skilled players. That's just sort of a very good heuristic, because
really,
it's harder for people who aren't good to know how they're doing in a volatile game.
So no limit hold'em, good if you're really good, but PLO, incredibly good for skilled players because bad players have so little mechanisms to get feedback.
That's part of it, and also they can go on runs for longer. Like I should be more precise. Like if you have a table full of super strong no limit hold'em players and a fish sits down, he'll get crushed, of course. But the thing is, it'll be very hard for him to go on many winning streaks, so he won't stick around. It's sort of like, the big NFL contest, the $33 one, I think it is, on the NFL mains, is like pretty flat and like completely flooded with sharp players. Like the number of entries that are put in by people maxing the contest is like over 50%. And so like that contest is not one you can win a lot of money at, because you don't get enough fish chasing the bigger payout, and they just got kind of killed. Anyway, that's sort of a rambling way of putting it, but
no, I know exactly what you're driving at, which is that the more volatile it is, the more likely it is that bad players, negative EV players, even not even in real life, in a sim, can generate winning lineups. Like Nelson Adcock runs these sims where he shows like how, well, he always does it the other way because he's a sadist. So he shows how like
how bad
a winning player can go on like 100 slate losing streak or whatever. But then on the converse, that means that players who are playing decidedly negative EV strategies can just win over a big sample, right? A pretty big sample as it pertains to NFL. All right, guys, that is going to do it for Dan and I today. We are going to go ahead and get out of here. Make sure that if you find this stuff interesting, that you head on over to endgamesyndicate.com. You can find some much more in-depth content about all kinds of strategy games to win in daily fantasy sports contests. We will be back with you next week with more typing and much more deep in the weeds strategy conversation. We will see y'all then.